You know, the grid we rely on for power is fragile and it can fail. What happens when the grid goes down and it's freezing cold outside? Today, I'm going to show you some items that can really help you out in that kind of a situation. So let's get into it. Alright everybody, welcome back. So first off, these tips are going to serve you no matter what causes the power outage, be it man-made, EMP, or even a simple winter storm. Remember, it doesn't need to be some kind of huge World War, end-of-the-world type scenario or disaster for these preps to come in handy. And you'll probably use these on a regular routine power outage way before you'll use them for some kind of monstrous SHTF type of situation. Now, many people tend to brush off local kind of disasters and localized kind of floods and power outages and bad weather because they think, well, it's not a huge disaster and I'll get through it. I have some food and water. But what they don't realize is that last year in Texas, 150 people died from that outage due to hypothermia, carbon monoxide poisoning, and medical gear failure. Back in 2003, we had large parts of the East Coast go down as well. Remember that one? Imagine if these types of disasters were to strike when it was freezing cold outside. And that's going to be the focus of today's video. So we're going to talk about first staying warm, okay? Your most important thing to do in a power outage in the cold is to stay as warm as possible. If your body temperature gets below 95 degrees, that's where hypothermia starts to set in. So you'll notice many of these preps are designed towards that. So let's get into what we can do before a power outage. Alright, if you guys remember a while back, I did 4 buckets, okay? 4 buckets full of food, preps, water, everything you'd need for a disaster or an emergency that you could grab with you or even hand out to a relative or something in some kind of large disaster if they show up unprepared. This is one of them, but it will represent what you can set up. You want to have an emergency storm kit, okay? With an emergency radio like that. Any emergency radio will do, even a little handheld AM, FM radio so you can listen to local broadcasts. You want to have some water in there, some non-perishable food, flashlights, of course. You'll notice they're even on my first aid kit over there. Love to have flashlights lying around. Maybe even a headlamp, because headlamps are very, very handy. And a decent first aid kit. You guys have seen my video on my first aid roll-up kit. Good first aid kit with everything you need, including maybe some of your prescriptions, because if this is an extended power outage, especially in cold where roads can be impassable from snow or ice, you want to have your prescriptions put away a little bit so it can hold you for a few days so you can get to the pharmacy. Next up, we're going to talk about blankets. Now, over in the back there, I have a blanket. Let me grab it for you. Okay. Blankets, very, very important. Not only can you use these blankets for keeping yourself warm, but you can open them up and shut down parts of your house with them. So you can keep a small area nice and warm and let the rest of the house be nice and cold. So you don't have to worry about that. An indoor heater, okay? An indoor safe heater. That's why I always recommend the Mr. Buddy. Move it over here to camera so you can see him. You guys have seen these. I reviewed this one at least twice with different modifications I've done to it. What I like about them is they will shut off if they're tipped over, and they will shut off if the carbon monoxide level gets too high in your area. So when you have a problem and you start feeling lightheaded and you start feeling like you want to go to sleep and you're running one of these types of things indoors, make sure you got a carbon monoxide detector. But this thing will shut itself off. And I did a video on this ages ago. I think it was 2015. But this is a paint roller. Just a regular paint roller that you stick in a bucket. I've bent it in a kind of unique manner here. And what I do sometimes is I'll just stick this here against here, and you can put something on top of this and actually boil water from the heat coming up. So it serves 2 purposes as well. Now, if this were to tip over, okay, I'm not going to tell you that it's not going to burn things. It won't start a fire because the fire will go out. But it will burn your rug or whatever else it falls into. So you got to keep an eye on your heating sources. I would say better that you go to bed layered in clothing with a bunch of blankets over you than one of these running unattended, even an indoor safe one. Now, really quickly, lighting, okay? Lighting is so available now. It's not just about flashlights and candles. This guy here I recently reviewed. This is from Climate. This is a roll-up, inflatable, there you go, inflatable LED light strip that just powers off USB. You got a power bank for your phone? There you go. You got power. You blow it up, and you hang it up on a ceiling or wherever. Works great. Very, very handy to have. Lighting is really important because more accidents happen in the dark than in the light. Let's face facts here. You're going to bump into stuff, you're going to knock stuff over if you don't know where you're walking, and lighting in your main area where you're going to be staying is a good idea. Another option is this guy here. I did this. This is, I believe this is the Empowered Lucy company makes this. This is a little bunch of string lights on a wire, okay? You just simply turn them on, real easy, and let me see if I can remember how to turn it on. There you go. Real easy. And you can string these around, and these are very, very bright when strung up. And they have different brightness levels. So definitely a handy thing to have. Just a simple battery-powered lantern. You want to light up your area a little bit to see what's going on around you, okay? Next up, you want to make sure you have a working carbon monoxide detector. Now you guys know I recently reviewed that thing from Banggood that was an air quality monitor that showed the level of carbon monoxide in the air. That's not going to do you much good if you're asleep. You want a carbon monoxide detector. If you guys check back on my videos, this is from Xsense. This is an awesome carbon monoxide detector, and I have two of these. One in my bedroom and one out here, okay? So these things will go off if the carbon monoxide level in your home gets too high. And I've actually had this go off in here for smoke, you know, when I'm burning something or I'm doing something in here with a video. I've had it go off when I'm cooking mainly. So it does work. It is very, very handy. You definitely want a carbon monoxide detector. A lot of times, I'm going to knock everything over here. There we go. A lot of times with carbon monoxide, it's just a feeling. You'll start feeling tired. You want to sleep. And the next thing you know, boom, you're out and you're done. So you definitely want a carbon monoxide detector, especially if you're going to be burning anything in your home. And that includes your fireplace. Not a lot of people think fireplace is in my home. It's safe. I can use it. It does let off carbon monoxide, and you definitely want a detector nearby in case there's a blockage in your chimney, in case there's a chimney fire. And I find the carbon monoxide detectors that are combined with smoke detectors really awesome to have. If you do get advanced notice, okay, of a storm or inclement weather coming, top off your stuff. Make sure every device is charged. Your handheld radios, that's a ham radio, but you know, whatever you're going to use, whether you have a little AM, FM radio, your weather radios, even your power stations, everything, top it off. Make sure everything is charged. All of your backup lighting. It doesn't take much to do that. You can do that while you're on your way to work that day. You know the weather's coming in that night. Plug everything in, top it off, charge it up. Another thing that's important along that same vein is make sure you got an adequate stock of batteries. Batteries now last a whole lot longer, especially these Duracells are good for 10 years. Make sure whatever you're using, you have that battery. If you have a device that uses C batteries or 9-volt batteries, make sure you got a stock of those. So you're ready, your batteries are ready, and you're ready to go if you need them. Buying them in the middle of a storm is not your ideal thing to do. And usually batteries are something that disappears very, very quickly in storms. Quickly, let's talk about generators, okay? I know folks think they can run a generator and everything will be fine, but that's great unless you don't have enough gas for it. Now, storing gas in your home can be dangerous, so please take precautions. Make sure you store it away from your home in an outbuilding, maybe chained up to the back of your house, whatever. The fumes can be dangerous. I use military metal cans, and I don't store a lot. And I do keep them in my garage here, and I will take them outside from time to time, make sure they're okay, not leaking, not venting or anything. I'll even open them up sometimes to make sure the pressure is built up and there's no venting coming out of them. So make sure if you store gas for your vehicle, for your generator, whatever, that you also store it safely. I don't want to see people burning their homes down because they put a bunch of little plastic red containers of gas in their garage and then went out to have a cigarette or something and lit it on fire. So make sure you're storing your gas safely, but also with that, if you're running a generator, generators require more oil changes than most things. Usually it's like 100 hours, or I forget what it was. I think my little one, I ran it the first time, and it was like the first 45 minutes you run it. That was the instructions from Coleman. The first 45 minutes you run it, and then you drain the oil to get any of the shavings or anything out from the metal, any of the machining, you know, when it was first made. Drain it out and put fresh oil in it. So you always want to have extra oil for your generators as well. Make sure you got, you know, maybe even a spark plug, some tools to work on it, the knowledge on how to work on it. Very handy to have if you have a generator. All right, next up, water filters. Now, water and water filters, why would I say that? Of course, their taps are going to run, right? In an extended outage, sometimes even in the winter when things can freeze up, you may not have access to clean water. You may be under a boil water order because there may be a line break or something from something freezing up, and there may be contaminated water. We recently reviewed this FS Tech outdoor water filter. It will work very well for indoors as well. Get yourself something and not a life straw. Life straws are awesome for out in the wilderness, but do you really want to be hunched over your sink with that straw, sipping the nasty water and be that close to it? Get yourself a good filter, be it a Berkey that's a big standalone filter, or even something like that, or even a pump filter, something good that you can use in the event of an emergency. Next up, we're going to talk about a way to prepare your food, okay? I have this little stove out here as an example. I probably would not use this indoor because it's a white gas stove and it has a bit of a flame when it starts up. But a propane stove, a butane stove, anything like that, a way to prepare your food. Again, some of the stuff's just representations of what I would use. So, that is definitely a suggestion. Make sure you have a little bit of water put away and a water filter. Because if your lines are still running, your water may not be clean. A lot of times with freezing, it'll damage major pipes, and you'll end up with rotten water or nasty water, or they'll put out a boil water order, which is fine. You can boil it on your stove, but I still like having a filter to run it through just to be safe. Last up, we're going to talk about a comms plan. Again, if you're a ham radio operator, you definitely want to be able to get in touch with your family. If you're using the GMRS radios or FRS radios, whatever radio system you're using, have a way to contact family, friends, and neighbors. Maybe you have an elderly neighbor next door, and you're kind of concerned about them during something like this. Give them a handheld radio. Give them a little FRS, bubble blister pack type thing you buy at Walmart. Have them check in with you. Have a way to keep an eye on the neighborhood. Maybe talk to your neighbors, get to know them a little bit, and have a way that you can keep eyes on things, because we found with power outages a lot of times people take advantage of that and start looting. You definitely want that. Lastly, we're going to talk about having a way to power things. It's really nice. Again, it's not a necessity unless you rely on medical devices. Remember, we said in Texas a bunch of people died because their medical devices failed or they didn't have power. And that's why I suggest power stations. Now, I built some of my own. I have shown you countless different power stations, both affordable and expensive. This one happens to be a little bit more expensive. This is the Oopsies 1000-watt unit. It comes with 200-watt panels. But you don't need something super expensive. Just enough power to, say, run a CPAP machine. Maybe you're on an oxygen generator. Maybe you need a medical device to keep your oxygen going. You want something that's going to be able to do that for you for an extended period of time. So definitely look into that. All right, we've talked about what you can do beforehand. Let's talk about what you can do during the power outage. All right, so you're in the middle of the power outage. Boom, it's happened. What are you going to do? Well, the first thing you're going to remember is that all supplemental sources of heat, portable generators, and stoves need proper ventilation. It may seem absolutely silly to crack your window open in front of the area where maybe you're running a stove or maybe you're running a heater, but you want the carbon monoxide to escape. I run this thing in my house with no doors open. Then again, I got a pretty big house with very high ceilings. I'm not too worried about it, and this will shut off at a high carbon monoxide level. You want to make sure that you are not keeping yourself in a little tiny room, in a closet with this running and a stove running. That's where your carbon monoxide poisoning happens. So remember that everything needs to be ventilated. Never place a generator in your garage thinking, well, it's not in the house, it's in the garage, and I'll just open the garage door. Don't do it. Trust me, it does not work. You will get a high level of carbon monoxide. Or even near a window where the fumes might enter. If you're going to keep a window open to run a power cord in or extension cord, don't do it with a generator right by the window. Keep it away from your home. I have a back screened-in porch that I will run mine on, and we're going to be doing a little bit on generators in the future. But I have a back screened-in porch that I can run mine on. It's open on all sides, just screening. And it gives me an area to put it out there, and I still keep it as far away as I can, right by the door. And I still kind of crack the door a little bit too and point the exhaust out that way. It will work. I've used it. I've actually run an air conditioner with it, so it works. But you don't want to have something near your house or in your house ever. Now remember, gas and wood burning fireplaces, like we said before, both emit carbon monoxide. Make sure you're keeping an eye on that detector and an ear out for it. Very handy to have and could be a lifesaver. So always use caution when burning anything in your home. All right, especially during a power outage when EMS is going to be overloaded. And if I come into the living room and I find somebody passed out, I'm going to get out of the house and then call 911. It could be 20, 30, 40 minutes or 2 hours before they can get to you during a storm. So you want to remember that. You want to turn off all heat-producing appliances, like the stove, maybe your heat pump, whatever. Turn it off, okay? You don't want to be, if you have to leave for work in the morning, you don't want the power to come back on and then your stove to kick back on. Make sure everything is shut off. I even shut off lights. I know that the power grid people love that because he kind of keeps the possibility of a big bump when the power comes back on. You're still going to get a bump because people still leave stuff on, but go around your house and turn off anything that could produce heat at least. Even your air conditioning if it happens in the summer. When the power goes out, I shut my AC off, and when it comes back on and the lights come on, I just go over and flick it back on again. No big deal. For outdoor pets, if you have outdoor pets, if you have livestock in an outbuilding, maybe you want to bring them into that area. Maybe you want to put some hay down and make sure they're safe. If you keep your dog outside during the day or whatever, bring them inside, keep them nice and warm. Remember, you're in a storm. You also want to have some food and prep set up for them too as well in case you can't get to the store. Last thing you want to do is be running low on pet food, and there's your pet sitting in front of you, asking for dinner, and you're out, and there's no way to get to the store. So make sure you think of your pets too. You want to shut down parts of your home. Remember we talked about using that blanket over there to block off an area. If you have kind of like archway entryways like my house has, you want to hang a blanket. You can use little thumbtacks. It really won't make any holes. Hang a blanket over that area. Shut it down so that you're living in one area, okay? And the rest of your house is blocked off kind of, so you don't have as much of an area to heat. Very handy idea and works very, very well and can be done with almost anything. Even those little space heater, those emergency tinfoil blankets they sell, that will work too. But what works best are big, heavy blankets. You want to cover windows with them as well, or even plastic sheeting. That way you're keeping as much heat in as you can. Now remember, when you do that, you got to be mindful of the carbon monoxide, so keep your detector nearby. Layer your clothing. The more layers you have between you and the cold, the better. Okay? If you're inside your house and it's cold, put on another shirt. Maybe put on a second pair of pants. And it will keep you nice and warm. I remember, again, growing up in New York City when I had to walk 5 blocks to where I worked. Even those 5 blocks, I had 2 pairs of pants, 2 shirts, 2 jackets, a scarf, a hat, because I was in the middle of a blizzard and I had to go to work. There wasn't a day off for that type of thing, especially when you live that close and you're the manager. So you had to be there. So layer clothing. Remember to even stock some extra clothing for that kind of a thing. If you got long johns, put them on. You're in your house, stay warm. Easiest way to do it. You can also use sleeping bags. If you have some sleeping bags from that camping trip you went on last summer, feel free to sleep in them. Feel free to sit in them and listen to the radio. It keeps you warm. Also, keep an ear to NOAA broadcasts or TV. They sell these little portable digital TVs now that run on batteries. Little tiny things. I have one up there. Didn't bring it down for the video, but they're very small. They're very handy. They run on, AA batteries. And you can keep up to date on that. You can also keep up to date if you have a scanner and your local frequencies for your area, maybe your police department, fire department. You can hear what's going on. Maybe they have a little bit better an idea when the power will be restored. So definitely keep informed however you can. Anyway, that's some helpful tips for before and during the power outage in the dead of winter. It's definitely something to think about, with all the craziness going on in the world right now. You definitely want to make sure that you've thought ahead and you're prepared. Also, too, folks, don't forget to check out our links down below. We have our Amazon affiliate store, our freeze-dried wholesaler link. You just click that link and anything on his site is 15% off using my link. You'll save 15%. I've gotten countless comments from people. Wow, I saved $90. Hey, thanks, I saved $150. So make sure you're using my link when you shop there and you'll save a lot of money. And he has a ton of stuff. You name it, he's got it. From freeze-dried filet mignon to freeze-dried cheesecake, he's got it. Don't forget to check out our My Patriot Supply link. That's preparewithiridium.com. That is a good way to stock away food for emergencies. Just make sure you put away water because it is freeze-dried. Preparewithiridium.com is the link. Don't forget to check out our Thrive Life food as well. We have a link down at the bottom there that you can check out our Thrive Life store if you're interested in getting started in freeze-dried food from Thrive Life. And there's nothing to join. You can just buy what you want. You will save some money if you become a consultant or a regular delivery customer, but there's nothing to join. Anyway, folks, stay safe, stay warm, and stay prepared.